listen to the show and peep what these dudes bring. If you didn't know, it's an orange and blue thing. Hope to win the championship and a few rings. We're talking baseball. It's an orange and blue thing. Walk off if the game's tied like shoestrings. It's a Mets podcast, orange and blue thing. Beat the other team with defense and a few swings. LFGM, it's an orange and blue thing.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to Orange and Blue Thing. I am Darren Mean, and that's Pete McCarthy. What's up, Pete?
What's going on? How we doing?
You know what? Last week was our Season 4 premiere, and I don't think I said either of our names.
Well, people just know once it's Season 4, right?
I get. Maybe we got some new people, new listeners, new viewers. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to the girl, the lady behind the non-glass here. What's up, Lizzie?
Hey, guys.
How you doing?
Good.
Holding down the fort?
I sure am.
All right, so here we are. We are 30 days away from opening day. The spring training games are in full swing. We were out there in Port St. Lucie, the not-so-new but new Clover Park. They got some big upgrades there in the ballpark, which we'll get to in a little bit. But it was cool to be down there. We were talking about it before we went live here about the game in general. And the Mets scored 3 in the first, and after that it was pretty flat. So the run buckets do start to take over a little bit. And once the starters get pulled, you are kind of just there enjoying your time at the ballpark.
It's spring training baseball.
Yeah.
It is. You watch 2 innings. Oh, baseball's back. And then everyone's number is 89 and above, and you kind of check out a little bit afterwards. I can't say that I tuned in at all. I was running around a little bit this weekend, but I didn't tune in at all to the spring training games. And look, there's like 2 things that matter this entire spring training that you could see in the games. When you want to Cespedes plays defense and how guys like Edwin Diaz and Jeurys Familia look in the bullpen. Other than that, I don't care if Pete Alonso hits 120. I don't care if Jacob deGrom has a 72 ERA in spring training. Like, some of this stuff just doesn't matter that much. Steven Matz gives up a first-inning home run. Who cares?
Right.
It's not going to make or break him going forward here. So, look, that's just the way it is, and, there's only so much excitement you still get at this point at seeing Tim Tebow up at the plate,
Yeah, he did have one at-bat. He struck out, big whoop.
You didn't even realize he was at the plate when you were at the game.
I had to look it up.
If that's not getting any kind of a buzz at this point, I don't know what is at these spring training games.
This is his third go-around, I think, right? His third, invite
at
to
least,
spring training?
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see if this is finally the year for Tebow. I don't think so. But, like you said, certain guys, you want to see, individual victories. Hopefully they look good and sharp for the season. But I think deGrom, is throwing a simulated game today. I think I just read Diaz is going to be in a game tomorrow. So it didn't bother you at all that I saw Twitter was a little up in arms. There was someone, I don't know the guy's name, I should have wrote it down, wearing the number 5. Down in a game, I think it was yesterday, or maybe it was Sunday. So some people think, the number 5 should be sacred. It's going to one day be retired by the Mets. I don't know when, but it doesn't really bother me that there's a minor leaguer wearing number 5.
I wouldn't have put that number out. I'll say I'm not going to say I'm bothered by it or it can't ever happen. But if I was the equipment manager, I would not have given anybody the number 5. No.
Okay. So maybe 55 or 15 if you're
There's a lot of numbers. There's 100 numbers. There's not that many retired by the Mets.
Right.
I mean, let's go. There's not that many guys in camp that you have to go to that degree. Give them 93 and be done with it. That's the way it goes this time of year.
If you want to chat, if you're watching afterwards, last week was a new thing for us. We went on IGTV. So if you're watching this afterwards, clearly that's not live, so don't call if you're watching on Instagram. But if you're watching live on Facebook or Twitter and you want to chime in, 631-388-5195 is the number to dial. But if you are watching afterwards, just like we did last week, the share contest this week, we're gonna do something a little differently, Pete. Like, we picked the instant winners basically on Instagram, not on Facebook and Twitter. But Instagram, we're going to do a new thing where we let that share contest run for the week. Because Instagram, people watch on there when they can. And when we do our share contest, just like we're doing today with our friends at FOCO, you'll have a full week to comment on the video to be eligible for this week's giveaway. So shout out to our friends at FOCO. This week, we are giving away 3 of the Jacob deGrom Cy Young bobbleheads, 1 on Twitter, 1 on Facebook, and 1 on Instagram. So if you don't win, you could always go to foco.com and buy one. This one's up as a pre-sale right now. It's $50 a pop. And you could also check out all the other stuff that FOCO has to offer because they're hooking you guys up with a special promo code. So go to foco.com, type in Mets, scroll around, or maybe you got a family member who is not a Mets fan and you're somehow still friends with them. But go to foco.com and shop and use the special promo code, which is, what is it? It is LFGM10, and that gets you 10% off of everything on foco.com. But if you want to be in the running for this Jacob deGrom Cy Young bobblehead, click right now, the share button on Facebook, retweet if you're watching on Twitter or Periscope, and if you want to win on Instagram, very, very easy if you're watching on Instagram, type, I want that Jacob deGrom at Foco USA bobblehead as a comment, and you'll be automatically entered to win. And like I just
Seems
said,
kind of forward. Just, I want that.
I want it. I want that. Well, we got to be able to, read through the comments to see who's looking for something for free.
Oh, I know.
So if you're watching on live right now, you still have an extra chance to win. Go over to Instagram, or you're listening afterwards on a podcast platform, which someone asked yesterday, where can I listen to you guys? And I saw you chimed in pretty much everywhere. You can pretty much find us everywhere. You could ask Alexa to play the latest episode. Clearly iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, all that. So like I said last week, I feel like we're more of a visual show, but those downloads count as well. Maybe you're traveling down to spring training, or you don't have the luxury to watch live or even as a replay. Pop on the podcast and join the convo. So spring training opening. Have you gone down to spring training ever as a fan?
I never as a fan. I've been down for work to the Mets twice. So I went once when I was at MLB.com, and it was like photo day. So you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, show up, and interviewed some of the players. It was the day Johan Santana put a trash can over his head, and that became the back page of the Post, if you can remember that. And then the other time I went down was when I was at WOR, and I actually called a game with Howie in the radio booth. Yeah, because Wayne Randazzo and Josh Lewin were doing basketball at the time, so they didn't have anybody to call the game with Howie. So I got to do that. And I actually did play-by-play for a couple of half innings, which was like the thrill of a lifetime, especially to do it next to Howie. So that was amazing.
That's got to be so nerve-wracking.
It was a little nerve-wracking the whole day, the day before. I mean, all of it. So it was fun, though. It was cool. I'll always have that tape, that audio that lives somewhere on a couple of external hard drives so that it doesn't go anywhere. But yeah, those were my experiences down there. But I never was able to just go and straight up hang out.
Relax, yeah.
And so I was near that bar that they have in left field, and then went to the bowling alley with the 7 line.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
For a little bit that
was the
night.
same year then that you did play-by-play? So that was like 3 years ago. 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was the same year. So yes, those are the times I've been down there, but I've never experienced it. Just hanging out on vacation, taking in a ball game, and all of that. Like you guys
like
had the opportunity to do this weekend.
When you came to the outing last year, and you got the cape, and you're kicking back, relaxing, and that's a little bit different for you. So let me ask you, how much different is it preparing for just a show on the Fan overnight, let's say, compared to the day before you were prepping for that spring training game?
Yeah, how is it different? Well, I mean, you just have to know a little bit about all the players. In a spring training game, like, anybody could end up in the batter's box. So, I'm working with Howie, and Howie's amazing. So we had guests in the booths. So Sandy Alderson was the general manager at the time. He comes in the booth, and Howie's calling what's happening on the field, interviewing Sandy Alderson at the same time, and then the Nationals are playing like, their 8th team.
Yeah.
So he's ripping through the media guide at the same time to figure out who the heck these guys are and to say something about them. I mean, it's like watching a maestro at work, like 3 different levels all going on at the same time, and it's absolutely seamless if you're listening at home, but I'm watching him, put all of this together. I'm like, oh, I should probably be helping right now in some way, at least say who's at the plate or something along those lines. But, you just stay out of the way when he's operating the way he was. But it's it's amazing. But, yeah, it's a different kind of prep, and you got to be able to tell stories about the guys that are there and obviously just inform people on what's happening in the game, whereas, a talk show, you're looking for talking points, conversational points, things to argue about. So it's just a different kind of, show or however you want to put it, broadcast that you're putting on.
Well, speaking of Howie, the voice of the Mets, he emceed the ribbon cutting ceremony at Clover Park on Saturday morning, and there was a bunch of people in attendance, a lot of the different companies that helped with the reconstruction. And as I'm walking up to the ballpark, that morning, I made a joke to some friends. I'm like, you know what? I guarantee you we're going to hear like a screw gun or a jackhammer at any point, because they're not done yet, And I swear on anything in the world, as soon as I finished that sentence, I hear like so they're like screwing something in, like. But you know what? Walking around it, nothing looked unfinished to me. Like everything was open. Of course, they're going to have the bars open. They're not going to lose that revenue on opening day. But the addition, I put some stuff on Twitter, and I put up something last night of a few different clips on Instagram of pretty much like an unedited like vlog style of just all my clips. So if you care, go on the Seven Lines Instagram account. But the biggest improvement that I think, besides the new entrance behind home plate, is down the left field line. It used to be that tiki bar, which they got rid of. And then there were some picnic tables, and then it just stopped about 20 feet or so from the outfield wall. Now they built a walkway that goes all the way around to almost to left center. And that's where that brand new giant bar is. It's also a Jim Beam bourbon bar, so it looks exactly like the one at Citi Field, which is smart on them. They're kind of making the stadiums look very similar now with the signage and everything. But from there, if you looked left, they moved the practice facility fields as close as you could possibly get. Mm-hmm. So you can watch the guys, the minor leaguers or whoever it might be in the backfields at the exact same time as watching the game. It's great. It was a really great addition.
And it seems that makes practice more efficient for the players when they're working out, where they're not going close. Field to field and have long walks in between. And they were talking about, some of the efficiency that goes a part of that. And I saw, just quoted in one of the papers, Jeff Wilpon said, hey, even Noah Syndergaard approved of the whole thing and, said, you guys actually got this right. So, I guess it's good for the players. It's good for the fans. You're closer to those fields, closer to the players. So, that's what's cool about spring training is if you're able to go not so much for the games, but the practices, even before the games start, and you can walk around those backfields to guys working on bunting or bunting defense or pitchers, pitching fielding practice. And it's not the most exciting drills in the world. It's just the fact that you are right there. It's like being at a Little League field and you're up against the, the fence, and the players are right in front of you. So I think, the opportunity to get that close, and the players are kind of walking around in the areas that you are, at least they used to. I don't know if it's set up exactly the same now, but that's, to me, is really cool. You're right there as guys are, going through the paces and trying to get ready.
I almost like that better, to be honest. So, going to the games is fun. Hanging out 1,200 strong in the berm is great. But like you said, if you have a chance, if you're watching this, or maybe you plan on to in the future go to the spring training, definitely try to set some time either to get there a couple days before the game start, or get there super early where you can go in the backfields, because I think they open that up every single day. So the backfield stuff is great. I think that, we didn't really – this is now rewinding a couple weeks here, but we didn't touch on this at all last week. With the renovations, they did upgrade the Mets locker room. So I don't know if people listening or watching understand what I'm talking about here. So the Mets got an updated locker room where it looks similar to what they're used to at Citi Field. So it's not as spring training-esque, with it being like bare bones locker room. So,
and the old one looked like something out of Major League.
Right.
Like it was.
It's a huge upgrade for them.
Yes. It was just, metal cages, and those were the lockers. And now it's an immaculate palace for 50 lockers. So you can handle all the spring training guys that are in there. I mean, the pictures of it really looked
great.
Amazing.
But the one rule they have is that once these guys break camp and go up to Citi Field, the St. Lucie Mets team will not be able to use that. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it seems kind of silly to me. I mean, you might as well let the players use the space that's there rather than have a secondary locker room. And the thought process, they have to earn their way to that spot, but so few of the guys have a realistic chance of earning their way there. I mean, I don't know what the secondary locker room looks like. I think there were some pictures taken of it. It's not as bad as it used to be. But yeah, I mean, if you have this immaculate locker room, I mean, might as well use it.
I don't know. I understand where the players are coming from. They don't get paid very well. Hopefully that gets changed.
I didn't hear any of the players complaining.
A few chimed in. We already know we have to earn it. We're eating like ham sandwiches with one piece of cheese for our lunches, and sleeping with 6 guys in a 1-bedroom apartment. Like, these guys are roughing it, and it is definitely a struggle. It is a grind. And we talked about last year, Jeff McNeil was like a roofer or something in the offseason. A lot of these guys have extra jobs, but
you could spin it the other way too, like getting a taste of what it might be like in the big leagues, and then you go to, say, Double-A Binghamton, or the next stop, High A Columbia. I think that would be like, oh, I liked that life. I
Gotta get
liked
back
that
to it.
clubhouse. Let's see if I can get all the way up and get there. Maybe not get back demoted to Port St. Lucie, but, charge through the right way. I think you can give guys a taste of it, and that'll make them, realize what they might be missing out on or what they can attain making it to the major league level. So I think you can spin that motivation aspect of it either way.
Speaking of a taste, I know it is only Tuesday at a little after noon, but I think I want to crack open this Coors Light. If I might say so myself. Cheers to you guys.
Boom, boom, cheers.
Cheers, Pete. Cheers, Lizzie. Lizzie's drinking this week.
Cheers. I sure am.
We're all in.
Coors Light.
Cure of migraines.
My favorite beer.
It is.
It worked last week.
Yeah, it cured Pete's migraine last week, and that was no bullshit too. Before the show started, I'm like, "Are you doing all right, man?" You're rubbing your head. I'm like, "Man, I don't know if Pete looks too hot today for the show," but you powered through and
gotta play hurt.
Coors Light helped you out, so we do have some fun stuff playing with Coors Light. We will be talking about that in the coming weeks. So until then. I don't know. Until then, whatever. So definitely share the show if you want to be in the running for this awesome bobble from our friends at FOCO. It is the Jacob deGrom Cy Young bobblehead, and it could be yours if you share the show on Facebook or Twitter or retweet. Or comment if you're watching on Instagram. It's very easy. And if you don't win, just go to FOCO's website and purchase one for yourself, you freeloader. It's LFGM10 for 10% off. So speaking of beer, Hop Life, we were there on Friday night. Our friends from Dugout Mugs were there, and every single mug they brought, they sold. I was a little nervous because it's a new partnership with them, and I wasn't exactly sure how many they should bring. And they told me the number, and they brought them, and they were sold out. So shout out to them. And a lot of the fans that were there were asking when we are going to be getting our own mugs on our site, and they are being worked on now, and we hope to have them in the next week or so. So if you're watching live, the ones on the left are up for purchase on their website. It's the Pete Alonso and the Jacob deGrom mugs. On the right, you could see the LGM logo that we've been using for a couple years. We're making the Bat mugs and also the wine mugs. They'll be up for grabs on our site.
Wine mugs is like medieval.
It's great.
Drinking wine out of a wooden. That's pretty cool.
What are they called? Like goblets or something? The big ones.
Well, they call it wind up on their
chalice.
website.
Yeah.
Wooden chalice.
I may actually use the wine mug instead of the beer mug just because it looks cool. So
I like them.
Head on over to dugoutmugs.com. They're running that same great special as last week, which was OABT 25 for 25% off anything on their site. They got a lot of great options up there. Like I just said, the Pete Alonso and the Jacob deGrom mug. They are the only bat mug in existence that have both the MLB rights, the minor league rights, the Hall of Fame rights, and the player rights. So definitely hop on over, check them out. Awesome company. It was really fun hanging out with Chris and Randall at Hop Life. And they actually came to the game as well on Saturday. I had a couple extra tickets, so I floated them the tickets, and they came to hang out to see what the crew was all about.
That's fun.
They definitely had a good time out there. So dugoutmugs.com, OABT 25% off, and I'm definitely super excited to get these mugs in. What was I going to say? The other thing I wanted to touch on, though, about spring training, you were saying, I don't know if the excitement level may have been down because of weather-wise. I mean, Friday was miserable. Friday was like the worst spring training weather I've ever been a part of. I've been going down for like 8-9 years now. It was cold. I was wearing jeans and a jacket. I was like, this is Florida. So spring training opening day comes around the next day, and it was probably the most beautiful day I've had out there. It wasn't super hot, but the ballpark was pretty empty, which I don't know if anyone noticed that either on the radio, the sounds of the game with Howie and Wayne, or watching on SNY. I don't know if you watched. I know Pete said he missed it, but the left field lines were like all open. A lot of open seats, and it was kind of weird to see because I feel like a new ballpark smell, even though it's just minor details, and it being opening day, that it would have been a little bit more busy. But I don't know.
If you said it was like 71
was
degrees,
great.
which for Florida might be, 50 for us.
Right?
I don't know. But you would think, people would be out there. I haven't been down there enough to know exactly what it's typically
wall to
like.
wall.
I don't think Tebow is the draw that he was, as we were kind of talking about and alluding to. Like, you didn't realize when he was at the plate, if he's not the event, then what are you there to see? Especially early on in spring training when you don't have the star players typically out there on the field, and even if they are, they play, 3 innings, the position players, the pitchers going 1 inning, and then he's done. So, the better games, if you want to see the star power, are going to be a little later in spring training as well. But I got a question. So they got rid of the Tiki Bar. They put some new thing out in left field, like a new bar?
That's that giant one. That's the Jim Beam bar.
Okay.
I mean, the Tiki Bar was cool, but, when I walked by, I didn't realize how small it was. Like, the footprint of it, you can kind of see where it was.
Mm-hmm.
A couple girls used to always work back there and, getting through those rum buckets. Like, it was always mobbed over there in that corner, and it kind of ended up being such like a log jam of people trying to walk by to their seats where you couldn't really get past because of the spot of that bar. But that new addition out in the left, I don't know if they're going to put any bar stools out there, but during BP, I stood out there for a little bit, and like 5 home runs came out there. So that's like the new hot spot to hang out before the game or even during the games. Maybe that's where they were. Maybe that's why people weren't in their seats. They're hanging out in the new spot in left field.
There you go. Well, I got to find out more about these rum buckets because I kept seeing them being talked about on social.
I don't drink them.
Oh.
I don't partake. So I did in the first.
Have you ever?
Are they dangerous?
Yeah, I guess. I had one my first year. 2. The first one went down great. The second one had like a bunch of fruit flies in it, and I was like, "All right, I'm done on the rum buckets."
It's just protein
for my life. Yeah, but
balance it out.
They knock them down, man. I posted the video. I think the video had it at like 333, but it went to like 410 or so in rum buckets. And you add that shit up, that's a lot of freaking money. That's a lot of rum too. So for that many people to knock
people
down
had 410 rum buckets.
Yeah,
I think it would end up being 410. It's a lot. Oh, but listen to this. Remember the wristbands?
Yeah.
I don't know if the Mets, maybe they don't even know this, but the wristbands. So we got this early entry wristband. So once they cut the ribbon, we were allowed to go in first. And for an hour, they did, I think it was $2 off of Bud Lights. And it was supposed to be, no, it was $1 off of Bud Lights. It was supposed to be $2 off the rum buckets. How much do you think a rum bucket is full price?
$12.
I think it's like 18.
Okay.
And then a lot of people opt for the extra $2 for the floater. So
that's just common sense that you got to get the floater for only $2 extra.
Well, when I got one for Cal, I was like, she doesn't need the floater. Like, just give her the regular one. And I go there and I bought 4 and a beer for myself. And I got the bill, whatever. I signed it. The person behind me was like, "Oh, is that special over?" And I said, "Yeah, it's over. It was only the first hour." They were doing 50% off. I don't even think they knew.
50?
They were charging $9 for the rum buckets.
Oops.
So sorry, St. Lucie Mets, but somebody screwed up. So for the first, it's a new ballpark. Maybe they had a new system. So they're hitting the screen, and they were charging $9 for the rum buckets.
Ooh.
So that's a lot of lost money out there for the Mets. So
it'll get you toasty if you realize the error.
Well, that happened up in Boston too. Remember?
Yeah. That was the ticket had the voucher.
So a lot of these
but
ballparks.
That of course didn't happen to my ticket.
It did for me.
I know.
We were supposed to get like a $30 concession credit when we went up to Boston. I think mine had like $80 or $90 on it.
Man.
So I went up for 2 beers, get the receipt, and it says the balance on the bottom, like how much money you have left on your ticket.
You were so excited. You were like, "Oh my god, guess what? And
I was a bunch of free stuff. Like we were just buying stuff just to buy it. I'm like, all right, I guess I'll get a pretzel.
Yeah.
I guess I'll get this.
A ton of people.
Well, also waters. The waters came in handy too because
That's true.
that game was so freaking hot. But sorry, Mets. For the first hour, they were doing half price rum buckets.
It's all right. Everybody made up for it for the next.
I made up for it the night
few
before. So
hours.
Hop Life.
No wonder people bought 500 of these things. It's half price.
Hop Life. Lizzie knows. I've probably only drank with Pete a couple times besides the show, but I don't really get I don't overdo it. I don't go out of control, especially when
quote unquote tuned up.
Yeah, I don't get too
that was Darren's.
Well, especially I'm in charge.
Yeah,
if anything's going on, I'm the only person down there point of contact. So
Sheriff Meenan.
I'm at Hop Life, and I give my credit card to the bartender, and she's like, "Hey, what do you want?" I'm like, "Just give me an IPA and something easy for Kelly." So I think she must have started me with a double something.
Yeah,
whatever.
That's my kind of brew.
Man, I'm pretty I'm not whacked, but I'm feeling pretty good.
From one?
No, I had a few, but
Okay.
you start your night with
Yeah.
the 10%. I was like, shit, I'm kind of feeling it. So we close our tab out and we go to a Mexican restaurant up the street. After that, like I don't drink tequila either, but it was like 2 for $1.
You were drinking tequila?
Margaritas?
Who are you?
Kelly ordered. She's like, I don't want 2. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'll have the second one. That was like, it was pretty.
That'll get you going, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so I wrote this down in my notes.
Is there a floater too?
No, but that's like whatever. Tequila's not my thing. And after like the 10% double IPA at Hop Life, the Uber driver, Trisha, our friend Trisha, says, "Hey, you coming to the game tomorrow?" She goes, "No, I got to work." She goes, "Oh, what do you do?" He goes, I'm a motocross trainer. There's a track
Oh, God.
15 minutes from.
It makes sense.
Yeah, of course. There's a lot of tracks in Florida. But I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, am I really drunk? Or is it like, are you really a motocross instructor? So
then
I
you
looked
were
it
like,
up.
woo!
No, I looked it up. They rent dirt bikes. So next year, I'm like, shit, I can extend my trip a couple days, go down, bring my gear, helmet, and all that stuff. I could rent the dirt bike and do double duty where I can ride and also go to a spring training opening day.
For sure. That's fun. You should totally do that.
I should.
It's your dream place now.
I know.
Port St. Lucie. You got baseball.
Del, I'm retired. We're moving to Port St. Lucie.
That's it.
Dirt bikes and
down.
spring training.
You got Duffys. You got everything you need.
Duffys, I could do without Duffys. I did go to Duffys after the game on Saturday, though.
Mandatory.
So I don't want to totally shit on them. But, it's at this point, there's other things to do in the area, and I've been going down so often that, like, how many times can you go to Duffys? But I threw this out there on Saturday night, sitting around the pool, knocking some back before watching Supercross. Have you ever been on a cruise?
No.
Never
will.
Are you really? Why?
What do you mean, why? Because
Coronavirus?
yeah, I mean, look, something happens on the boat, you get stuck somewhere for 2 weeks. No, thank you. I have no desire to go on a cruise.
Can I tell you something?
This stuff happens all the time. It's not just coronavirus. It's like something's in the food, something's wrong with this, that. You just get stuck on this boat forever.
My sister was begging me for months to go on a cruise, and she wanted to go January, February, or March. And I was like, dude, that's like my busy time. I really can't take off a week or whatever it is. Please, please, please. Like, I'll pay for this. I'll pay for this. I'll give you a drink package. Like, all this stuff, trying to bribe me. And then the ship got quarantined.
No
because
way.
Of the no, not the ship that we were supposed to be on, but like, all these different cruise ships. And I called her one morning when I heard it on the news, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I would have killed you if we were on one of these ships. And I've never been on a cruise ship, and I don't really like boats, so for me,
it's another. I love it, but you have to be prepared for it. There's like a morgue on there. There's a jail on there. There's everything on there. I mean, you're in the middle of the ocean for days. That obviously they need to, if something bad happens. But anyway.
It never does, though. Don't worry about it. We never need the morgue or the hospital or the jail.
I saw a guy get arrested.
Yeah, you just throw him overboard. That's it. See you later.
On our honeymoon.
Vigilante justice. International waters. No rules.
There was this guy. I think his name was like Spanky or something like that. On our honeymoon. He was from New Jersey. And
Spanky from Jersey.
His kid was getting married, so there was like a wedding on the boat, and one of the guests got so whacked where they definitely got either arrested or like put in some type of like drunk tank on the boat. It was crazy. But anyway,
it's like an Eagles game.
Besides the point, I think that we could rent out an entire cruise ship.
I saw you tweet that, and I was like, this guy is out of his mind.
I think we could. So I don't know how many.
You guys have fun.
Listen, we got to do shows from there. We're going to be streaming. I was sitting around at the pool, and I'm sitting there with Keith Blacknick, shout out QBC, and we're saying, we were kind of having a meeting, even though we didn't know we were having a meeting. I'm talking about a cruise ship. He's talking about QBC, and I'm like,
there you go. Boom. Put it together.
There's some wrestling.
The QB cruise. You stage C from convention to cruise. Yeah. Queens baseball cruise.
Well, you're saying like QBC.
That's my contribution right
but
there.
The C would be SEA. Anyway, so I guess there's some wrestling thing that this guy Jericho puts together where it was you pay to be on the boat, but then the event was there. Like they had the ring on the boat. So
oh my God.
Gronk
kill
did a cruise.
Me.
I mean,
you can kill me before you put me on
We're
that
not talking
shit.
about you going on it. So
oh God.
What if you take like a Comic-Con style event or a QBC style event, and you could pay, I don't know how much you have to pay these guys, but you pay a Mookie Wilson or a Darryl Strawberry or to be on the boat, and they do like panels and signings and whatever, and then you link in like a Kevin James or a Jim Brewer to be like the nighttime entertainment. So it's like the whole boat is Mets related stuff, and you either start or end at a game in Miami. So you either go to a game on a Friday night in Miami, that Saturday you leave on the cruise, you go there for 4 or 5 days on the cruise, and you go home.
Sign me up.
What do you
Makes
think?
sense.
That'll be my first cruise.
Are you coming, Pete?
Yeah, I think about it.
Really?
I like a Mets cruise, but I'm not very pro cruise, as you might have heard. So,
Well, I haven't been on a cruise in a while. I don't know if you know this. I've been basically like plant-based since last summer. So I eat fish. I don't eat meat. I don't have dairy and whatever. So I don't know what I'd really eat on the cruise because it's constant, like pizzas everywhere. It's like chicken fingers here, pizza. Like it's basically
well, if you're running
It's
it,
all
I'm sure
inclusive.
you can.
It's all inclusive.
I
get
know.
a
But what am I
vegan
gonna have?
package or
Salad
something.
for 7 days? There's probably like veggie burgers. On
Salad
the
and tequila.
I'm
What else
sure
do you
there
need?
are. There's so many people that are vegetarian now. I'm sure that
tequila and 10% beers.
You just bring a fishing rod and you catch something along the way, you know?
Oh, that would be awesome. So give us a shout if you want to chime in. 631-388-5195. Again, share the show if you want to be in the running for the FOCO Jacob deGrom bobblehead. If you're not watching live, you're listening, and you still want to be a winner, pop on over to our Instagram, IGTV, and comment on today's episode's video with I Want That Jacob deGrom at FOCO USA bobblehead, and you'll be in the running. So again, we're going to run that for a week. So next week we're going back to Mondays. So I think we're going to be Mondays from here on out, just like we did last year. So you have from now until Monday to just go over to our Instagram account and throw a comment our way if you want to be in the running. So back to some baseball talk. How about our boy Cespedes, Mr. Pete?
He spoke.
He did speak. And
day.
you know, I said last week, something. There's no way this is lasting throughout the season, and he didn't say much. You know, he said just enough. And yesterday, our Tim Riley put together a little thing here, and he said, you know what? He said what he had to say. I don't care if he speaks again from now until the end of the year. Just let his bat do the talking, and we'll go from there. So one of the reporters said, how you feeling 1 to 10? He replies 12, and instantly like, let's go.
It's his motivation level.
Right.
But
That's what
what
it
was
was.
cool about it, too, is he answered it in English. He didn't have it translated for him.
Yeah.
And then he just instantly said 12.
Let me see if I can get it here.
That's what I'm at.
The highest. How motivated is he? Are you going to succeed this year?
12.
Well,
Yeah.
No nonsense. Just
That's
a
it.
12.
12.
I'm at 12 right now.
Let's go.
So, look, he wants to express that he is motivated. He expressed the fact that he's motivated by a lot of the skepticism that people like me have about what he could do, considering all the injuries that he's had to his lower body. And that's fine. I mean, whatever riles him up, whatever gets him going, that's all fine and good. Obviously, he's got a lot of financial implications here as well. One thing I think is going to be really interesting is the way that his contract is now set up. He makes hundreds of thousands of dollars each time he hits certain benchmarks for either games played or plate appearances. And there's going to be an interesting balance here. Even if Cespedes is healthy and able to play left field, the Mets are going to want to protect him, right? Like, you're going to have to give him some days off. I think
Right.
anybody would look at it and say that's going to be the case. You have a rookie manager in Luis Rojas, and if Cespedes is motivated financially to play as often as possible, especially if he's feeling good, I wonder what the push and pull is going to be like when they say, hey, you're going to have a maintenance day. And he's like, well, no, I feel fine. I want to play. I don't want to rack up as many plate appearances. And this is something that will go on all year. It's not like he just has to hit one number and then it's done. This will be throughout the season a potential issue if he is strictly focused on racking up as many dollars as possible. But I just, all of this is going to be a challenge to keep him healthy, to keep him on the field, and we still have to see if he can play left field regularly. He said he's 80% as far as running goes. He's running in zigzags now, so he's got that going, but he's not cleared to run the bases yet. So it's still a ways to go until he's going to be able to partake in a game, and more importantly, play left field consistently and show that he can do that.
Like as you said, motivation, also those extra incentives throughout the season. But how about an extra $5 million if he's ready for opening day? So that's got to be a sure motivator as well.
So my understanding is that is prorated. That's what Tim Britton of The Athletic told me, is that that'll be a prorated amount. So it's not $5 million or nothing on opening day. It's just the longer it takes, the less that he gets of that $5 million. But clearly, he's going to be motivated to be on that roster opening day. He's going to want to play. And what I think will be interesting, because I've thought of it and said, look, even if he can't play left field, it's worth having him on the roster as a pinch hitter. And that would be all he would do. Forget about defense. He's going to pinch hit. He's going to hit the ball. You're going to take him out on the bases and then pinch run for him. And I think you could do that this year because you have the extra roster spot. It's a 26-man roster. And rather than having 15 pitchers or 13, you can utilize Cespedes as that extra guy. I think that's a big advantage. It's something that the Mets could do. But, is that going to be enough for him and, what his motivations might be? Because remember, it's not just about the incentives this year. Dude also wants to rack up his market value because he's going to be a free agent after the year as well.
Well, yeah, this is it. I mean, this is, it's, I think for him, this is his last hurrah with the Mets either way. Either he has a great year or he doesn't. This is it.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be back no matter what.
No.
Right? Because you look at the outfield, you're locked in with Nimmo and Conforto. You would think going forward, J.D. Davis, Dom Smith, potentially you want to have them in a role. I mean, it's already going to be a little messy to incorporate Cespedes with that. I'm still going to play Cespedes over Davis or Dom Smith in left field, no question about it, if Cespedes is healthy. But, yeah, I think this is the end of the road, especially, I mean, you can't think that he's all that thrilled with what happened here. And, yes, he's hurt it on his branch. Yes, he's doing something that violates his contract, which is why the Mets acted the way that they did. But, they're taking money away from him. And, I mean, I would understand if he took that personally.
He shouldn't, though. It's his fault.
No, I agree. I'm not saying that he's in the right. I'm just saying it's human nature, I think, to, hey, this is an accident that happened. Why are you coming after this? Hey, look, Madison Bumgarner went out and hurt his shoulder in a motorcycle accident or dirt bike accident or whatever it was. And, the Giants didn't go after his money, and that was clearly a violation of his contract.
Honestly, I feel like they should because you signed the contract. You know it's dangerous. You know you shouldn't be doing this or that. You shouldn't be riding motocross. You shouldn't be trying to hunt down boars or climbing trees. And, it's his fault, and he screwed up, and, he's got to pay the price.
Sure.
So I feel like you could certainly be disappointed or he could be disappointed in himself for making that decision, but I don't think that it's...
You think that's human nature, though? Like, I would think that there would be some... hey, you didn't have to do that in the moment. I don't know.
No, I'm not talking about
I'm not arguing that he didn't do anything wrong because he did something wrong clearly. Legally, the whole thing, the judge came down. This is the way it was sorted. So I'm not defending Cespedes. I'm just saying, I do wonder what that relationship between Cespedes and the Mets is actually like right now. Cespedes didn't want to get into the past. He didn't want to talk about any of that stuff. He didn't want to tell the story of the boar. Didn't want to, necessarily get too far into his relationship with, the organization. He said Brody Van Wagenen and his relationship with him is fine. It's not as good as it was when Brody was his agent.
Well, clearly.
I mean, it's a little different, so there have been some changes there, but he seemed to say that it's in a fine spot. But, that realistically, that could have been one of the reasons they didn't want to talk to the media. They didn't want to get into that aspect of it. Forget about just being, the bore and what went wrong where he ended up, putting his foot in a hole and breaking his ankle.
That's what I was saying last week. I said, maybe he meant that he didn't want to talk about the past, not about the future and his training, whatever. But I feel like he has really no one to blame but himself. I'm a Cespedes guy. I hope he succeeds. Yeah. But as far as his money is concerned, I think the Mets made the right call, and he's got to just live with that. But I do want to just another wacky story that was out in the news the past couple of days. How about this Zamboni driver that steps in to be the third-string backup goalie and actually gets his first NHL victory? What'd you say? He got $500?
Yeah, I heard he got paid $500. 42 years old. See, I guess for hockey, and I don't know everything about this, but they have an emergency goalie in every arena, and you're the emergency guy for both teams. So if usually each team carries two goaltenders, if both of those goaltenders are hurt, unable to play, then they go to the emergency guy. And this dude, 42 years old, the Zamboni driver, went in, as you might expect, gave up goals on the first two shots against him, but then saved the next 8, and the Hurricanes won the game.
Unbelievable.
In part behind his play. They scored some goals for him, too. But it's an amazing story. I mean, to just literally, it's like being plucked out of the crowd, essentially, and asked to play in a game, partake in a game. I don't know how you get $500 out of it.
$500?
Hopefully he gets some kind of endorsement or movie deal. I don't know. Give the guy something. Hopefully the guys at least took him out to the bar afterwards. And,
it seems too good to be true. It seems it seems insane.
Oh, it's amazing.
But Yeah, maybe the players kicked in. Maybe the goalie that he the other two goalies that got hurt maybe threw him a bone
I
there.
hope
but
so. I think they should have brought him out, gotten some Dom Perignon. I mean, do it up big that night at the very least. But he'll always have that. I mean, it's a cool thing. It's kind of unique to hockey. I was comparing it to baseball, where if the catcher gets hurt, you have like that designated position player who's the emergency catcher.
Do you know?
I think it's Jeff McNeil for the Mets. So you have that emergency catcher. You never want to get to that point. But goalie is just such a different level. Like, you can't just take a defenseman and say, all right, strap on the gear and get back there. It doesn't work as well. So
It's
I
an
guess they
unbelievable
have this
story.
system in place. And there's Zamboni drivers apparently across the NHL just waiting for goalies to get hurt so they can get their big break.
But then you also have to be in shape. You're not hiring a guy that just sits there.
No, you were saying this game was played in Toronto.
Yeah, it was in Toronto.
I mean, I figure everybody in Toronto knows how to play a little goaltender, right? I mean, it's Canada. It's hockey. That's what they do.
So we actually have a Hurricane fan on the line. So Brian, tell us a little bit about this game. You were fired up for this?
Yeah, I'm. Hey guys, thanks for taking my call. Thanks. I'm a Hurricanes fan. I live in Raleigh, but my dad's from New York, and I grew up in the Northeast, so I am a Mets fan. So watching the program, but transplant. But yeah, he actually got nothing. So he got paid no money to do this. When they go in, they sign what's basically a contract as a tryout. So basically, walking out of the arena, he got a game puck, his stick, and his jersey that they sewed for him in the locker room.
So as a fan, though, I feel like I'd want to buy this guy's jersey now if I was a fan, or if there's like an equivalent of the 7 line for your hockey team. I feel like you'd
Start
have to
go GoFundMe.
You'd have to eat this up right now. There has to be like Ayers T-shirts out there,
Yeah, so something cool. Yeah, something cool the Hurricanes are doing, and they're a really classy organization as far as I'm concerned from NHL teams. They are selling, and this is right up your alley, they're selling shirt jerseys in the team store with his number 90 on it, and he's actually a kidney transplant survivor.
Oh,
his
my
mom
God.
gave him a kidney 15 years ago. And so the proceeds from all the sales of those shirts are being donated to kidney transplant charity.
That's all. That makes me want to
fantastic.
buy one. I think I'm going to go buy one today.
Yeah, well, they're hard to come by. I think they've already sold like 4,000 or 5,000 of them. So
No way.
I'm going to the Hurricanes game tonight, and he's going to be like doing like some pregame stuff and going to be in the building tonight. They're having like David Ayers Day.
That's
Raleigh
incredible.
today
They
for
should
the
retire
guys,
his
which
number.
is really awesome.
All right,
yeah,
man.
It's really cool. I do have a Mets question.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, let's go.
Hit it.
So definitely excited about the season and what the guys are going to be doing. But given last year, I haven't heard a lot of talk about it. But one of my chief concerns is the bullpen. Obviously it was so bad last year. I guess can you guys give some thoughts about if we really think some of these guys are going to bounce back, and if Seth doesn't make the 5th starter job, with Steven Matz and Waka, he's going to end up in the bullpen, or
Lugo's going to be in the pen.
Happy? Like, what's that dynamic going to look like? Are these guys really going to be any better? Because I think that could be a big, I think they're going to score runs, and I think DeGrom's going to do his thing, but would like to hear you guys' thoughts on that. And thanks for what you do. Enjoy your program, guys.
Thanks, Brian.
And thanks, Brian, for the call. We appreciate you, cleaning up some things there with the hockey stuff that I wasn't up on. But as far as the Mets bullpen goes, this will decide their season. The Mets can hit. They have the starting pitching. All right, injuries could always be a concern. That's kind of the same old. But the X factor for the Mets is this bullpen. It killed them last year. It was awful. And what's amazing to me is a lot of the projections, like if you look at the FanGraphs projections and the different sites that do that, algorithms, however you want to put it, they all love the Mets bullpen. Some of them have had the Mets bullpen as top 5 in baseball because guys like Juris Familia and Edwin Diaz do have these terrific track records, even if they were horrendous last season. So they're expecting a bounce back. Look, a lot of this is going to be on Jeremy Hefner, the new pitching coach, what he can get out of these guys. The thing that I think will be big, though, is Edwin Diaz, and he better get off to a good start. Because if Edwin Diaz, I said this a few times, If he throws a ball on his first pitch opening day at Citi Field, he's getting booed.
Yeah.
He might get booed when he runs out of the pen.
Not by me.
Well, you've been very supportive for the most part
Goes a
last
long
year,
way.
about 90% of last season. But he's not going to get the benefit of the doubt. And as soon as something goes wrong, that whole stadium is going to be against him. And that's not easy to try to overcome. Forget about the fact that Diaz, his best pitch in Seattle was a slider, and he didn't have that pitch at all last year. So he's got to find that in spring training. That's one thing that I really want to see in these games. Is he getting swings and misses on that slider and not hanging it in the middle of the plate where he's giving up all those home runs? And then mentally and emotionally, we'll have the fortitude to get through this season, because it's not just like coming in with the clean slate like he did last year. Now he could be perfect in April and blow a save in May, and everyone's going to go, here we go again. It's going to be a big thing. So he's got a big hill to climb to get where he needs to go. It's been done. I don't know if there's a lot of examples in New York, especially closers where, basically you're 100% success or you're a failure, right? You only get talked about or heard from when you blow a save as a closer. You're expected to lock down every lead that you get. It's a tough position for a guy to be in. I mean, think back to the greatest closers in Mets history. John Franco, you mentioned his name to any Met fan, and they first go, "Oh, that guy gave me heart attacks." Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we're hard on closers. It's not an easy position, not
Right.
with this team, not with the culture. And now you have a guy who was horrendous last year, gave up 15 home runs in the ninth inning, and yeah, that'll be something else. And the other part, I'll just chime in real quick. Joel Sherman, I believe it was in the Post, had an interesting story today that the Mets might mix things up with the fifth starter spot. So depending on the matchup, they could go with Matz, they could go with Waka. Let's say a lefty might be better against a left-handed lineup versus a right-hander. And the other thing they might do is use Seth Lugo as an opener. So Lugo wants to start. It's not going to happen, but he could theoretically start, throw 2 or 3 innings, and then they could go to Matz or Waka, and that's something that some other teams have had success with, and that's obviously if everybody is healthy. But that's another way that Lugo maybe kind of starts games, but surely not in the way that he desires.
Clearly, there's always a lot of moving pieces, and health is the number one. But, I mean, if these guys are all on, you got Lugo, Familia, Diaz, and Betances in the bullpen, I mean, that sounds pretty good to me. But
It's good on paper.
And it's an every other year.
Familia lost 30 pounds,
Yep,
all right?
yep.
So you'll hope that bounces him back. But, look, you have a rookie manager who's got to put these guys in their proper roles. It's not easy. It sunk the season last year, and it has to be better, and it's essentially the same guys with the addition of Betances.
So let's hit one question from Twitter. We asked the fans if they wanted to chime in, and they can't call in, to hit us up on Twitter. We have a Twitter account for the show. It's Orange Blue Thing. And this one, I'll just rapid questions for Pete, I guess. Who is in the most starting lineups this season, Cespedes, Cano, or Dom Smith? That's from at TJ the Headphoned.
Cano.
Follow up. Who has the most starts between Matz, Waka, and Porcello?
Porcello. I think Porcello's going to be good. I like a guy who's been a career American leaguer coming to the National League. I think it gives you an edge, gives you an advantage. He's bounced back before from a rough season. He was bad last year in Boston, but I think Porcello is going to be a good, solid pitcher for this Mets team. And the reason I say Cano is, look, they're going to give him every opportunity to hold on to that job. He's going to be the everyday second baseman. And, look, you'd be rotating Dom Smith, Yoenis Cespedes to some degree in left field. Dom could start in the minor leagues. They have Matt Adams brought in from Washington, where he was for a long time. He could be the backup first baseman and the bat off the bench. And the reason they would do that is to give Dom at-bats down at AAA, and then if he's needed, he could come up. He's still a young player. You don't want to bury him as just a pinch hitter, perhaps. So definitely Cano on the first one.
So this one is from Stephanie Lombardo, who calls us sometimes. I think she's from Jersey. So this question, I posed this question on the 7 Line Twitter account after the whole drunk on a parade float with Pete Alonso. So if you could hang out with one Met, past or present, who would it be and why?
Turk Wendell.
And why?
Why?
Because he's nuts?
Yeah, I mean, he'd have good stories. I've heard so many great stories about Turk Wendell over the years.
Yeah.
I would love to pick his brain about. I mean, he got stuck like in the Rockies after he was chasing a mountain lion, and they were worried about his safety. I know it was a big thing, like in the winter one year. I've just heard enough things about Turk Wendell that I I would have some questions, and he's someone that I've never had the opportunity to interview over the years. That would be a lot of fun. I know you got a taste of him at Mets camp this year.
I think it's generational. I think, to that question, I feel, it really depends on what era you grew up watching. Some people said, I really wish I could have spent some time with like Gary Carter or, someone who may not be with us anymore. I feel like a night out with like Keith Hernandez would be, even now, without the crazy 80s, would still be entertaining because I feel like he's just nuts.
That's a good one.
Like that story with Ron Darling saying, like him making fun of the guys in the elevator wearing Mets jerseys. I think just there'd be so many like one-liners. I feel like hanging out with Keith for a night would be very enjoyable. So we are going to get to the share contest in just a second here, but don't forget that if you haven't done it yet, share the show. And if you lose, go to foco.com and use the promo code LFGM10 for 10% off.
I like the Twitter questions. We should keep
do
that
that
up
more often, right?
I know that's work for you. You got to take them, make a screen-worthy, screenshot them, and all that. But I enjoyed that.
It's pretty easy. So we are going to get to the share contest in a couple seconds here. But the Houston Astros are going to be in town tomorrow. The Houston Asterix, or whatever you want to call them. Their first game in Port St. Lucie. They both do share a state down for spring training, and they play each other a lot. So tomorrow is their first time coming to Port St. Lucie. You mentioned earlier who had a garbage can on their head, you said? Someone earlier?
Oh, Johan Santana.
I was thinking about like an Astros joke with that. So do you think that there's been a surge of like garbage can related costumes sold on Amazon lately?
Well, what I heard was when they played the Nationals in their first game, people were pounding the chairs in the stadium to mimic the sound of a garbage can being hit with a bat.
That's
they tell
hilarious.
them to stop that or no?
No. What are you going to do? I think that's something that you could hear all season long, potentially, those kinds of noisemakers, whatever. But every stadium, you just have the seat, bang and go from there.
So the whole thing with the sign, if you're watching live, I did show this fella here with the Houston Asterix. And they do share a ballpark. So the Astros and the Nationals share the same facility down there. I guess, depending on I don't know if they have two sets of offices. I don't really know how it works. But someone from the Astros went down and confiscated this sign. So that just adds more fuel to this story. And honestly, I'm no stranger to bringing signs to games. I got kicked out of Citi Field once for a sign, or not so much the sign, but more so the business card.
I don't know why anybody's surprised.
Afterwards.
No, this is what the Astros do.
But
they steal signs.
They do steal signs. But this just adds to the whole story, and I feel like if I was going to the game tomorrow, granted it's not a home game for the Astros, I'd probably have a sign as well. So I feel like them not just ignoring it is going to fuel it even more.
Yeah, I know. This stuff never makes sense to me. Why wouldn't you allow fans to have signs at a game? This has been going on forever. If it's not vulgar or profane, something that you're worried about children seeing or something along those lines, I never understand when teams and organizations do this, because you only bring more attention to whatever the sign was about, because it inevitably becomes a story when this stuff is taken away. Like, just let the people have a sign. All right, don't hold it up while play is going on. You're blocking people's view, but between innings, put it up. The camera grabs it, put it on TV. Who cares? Fine, it's out there. People feel this way. People are upset with the Houston Astros. You allow fans to vent, express it, then they get it out of their system and it's done. You do this, you take it away, you upset people further, and you keep all of this going and going and going. And that's everything that the Astros have done here. They could have put this thing to bed about 20 different times. Maybe it wouldn't be completely to bed, but they did not apologize at first. They still don't seem very remorseful for what they did to win the World Series. So this will be a story all season long because of the way that they have handled it to some degree.
All right, so Lizzie, get those names together. We are going to get to you in just 1 second, but I want to remind the fans that this Thursday, let me just change the shot here. This Thursday, we have a whole bunch of stuff coming out from our friends at New Era. So head on over to the7line.com. I will put up the product shots today. I just haven't had a chance to do it yet. But we have a whole bunch of new hats coming out, the spring caps that we have available on our website. They're going to go up on Thursday at 10 a.m. So we have a bunch of snapbacks, a bunch of adjustable caps, and a stretch fit. I know you guys said that you wanted more stretch fits. So we brought some more in. 10 a.m. on Thursday. Don't forget, set an alarm. And once we sell these out, we don't bring them back. So you guys may have noticed like that Blossom hat, that blue one that was really popular. Once they're gone, and that's it. So definitely set yourself up with a reminder. So Lizzie, without further ado, can you select or tell us who you selected at random for the 2 share contests today?
I'll start off with last week's Instagram winner.
Okay.
So that was Louie_Pluck. That's LOUIE_PLOCK.
Congrats,
So
Louie.
congrats, Louie. This week's Twitter winner is Warren GRPH, and his name is at URIRX98. So congrats, Warren. And Facebook, we have Wayne Hansbury Jr.
All right.
So
Congrats to you guys.
everyone.
Well done.
And again, if you have not done so yet, you can still be in the running. If you're not one of the winners today on Facebook and Twitter, you still can win on Instagram. So pop on over there, follow the rules, and you can be put in the running, and we'll pick that winner next week. So we're back to Mondays next week, Pete. Monday show.
Let's get it.
Back on track. I guess we'll keep it at noon if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
So back on track on Mondays. If you're listening afterwards, SoundCloud, Google Play, iTunes, all that. We appreciate your listens. Make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, or leave a rating, and all that good stuff. It's been a fun show.
Very good show.
Hopefully,
Migraine-free show.
Migraine free. Hopefully, Tebow gets a hit this week, so all the people down there can get all fired up in Florida. And I think that's it. We cover everything.
I think we got it all in. I like the Q&A. We could do that going forward.
Cool.
And we'll make it happen.
Can I shout out my grandma and my mom that are watching right now?
Oh, boy. All right. If you want to do that quickly.
Hi, Mimi. Hi, Mom.
Oh, my God. All right, guys. So see you next week. That's an orange and blue thing. And let's go Mets.
Bye.